In a quiet countryside town, something dark is brewing beneath the surface. Police rangers are patrolling an abandoned site, rusted containers and silence all around. The chief officer leads the team, cautiously prying open a container door. What he finds inside nearly ends his life. A rabid dog, chained and snarling, lunges at him with wild eyes. The only thing stopping it is a frayed rope, barely holding the beast back. Neil, one of the officers, has his gun drawn, aimed directly at the dog. But something inside him won't let him pull the trigger. His hands tremble. His mind drifts, distracted for a split second by the sudden appearance of an eagle flying overhead. And, in that second, the rope snaps. The dog pounces, mauling the chief to the ground. Bleeding and struggling, the chief yells at Neil, "Shoot it." But Neil still can't do it. Instead, he tries to pull the dog away, grabbing at the rope, but it's useless. The dog won't budge. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out. Neil's best friend, Officer John, was watching from behind and takes the shot, killing the dog and saving the chief. Neil radios the station, requesting medical help, but the chief refuses. Tough as ever, he insists he's fine. He doesn't want the hassle or paperwork. Back at the station, the chief sits down with Neil. He's not angry, he's understanding. He knows Neil hasn't been himself lately. Ever since Neil's son went missing, things have changed. The chief tells him to take time off, to rest, to process the grief. But Neil, worn down and numb, just nods in silence. Later that day, John drives Neil home. He tries to lift his spirits, but Neil's not the same man anymore. There's a heavy, painful emptiness in his eyes. John gently tells him, "Talk to me. Let me help." But Neil shakes his head. No one can help. When Neil gets home, he finds his wife, Abby, slumped on the couch, lost in a fog of grief. If Neil is barely hanging on, Abby is completely consumed. She hasn't moved in hours. She barely speaks. Her eyes are locked onto old photographs of their son, eyes full of hope that he might somehow return. But deep down, she knows. They're packing up, getting ready to move somewhere far away, hoping that a new town might help them start over, or at least breathe again. The next day, Neil walks to the lake, a place that once brought peace. He takes out a small watch, the one he gave to his son years ago. Memories flood back. The laughter. The moments. The loss. With a heavy heart, he throws the watch into the water and pulls out his gun. He raises it to his chin, ready to end it all. But suddenly, he hears a scream. A woman's voice, coming from the lake. Neil runs. Without hesitation, he dives into the water and pulls her back to shore. But as she turns around, Neil's heart stops. She's not a woman, not anymore. Neil reaches for his gun, but it's not loaded. Panicking, he grabs a rock and does what he has to do. Again and again, he strikes until she stops moving. Blood on his hands, chest heaving. Neil looks up and sees two more figures stumbling toward him. Zombies. He runs. All the way back to the house. He searches desperately for bullets, but the boxes are empty. One of the infected bursts through the door. Neil grabs a shattered vase and stabs it through the neck. The second one comes in behind it. He grabs a rope, loops it around its neck, and pulls with everything he has until the creature drops. Breathing hard, he rushes to wake up Abby. He throws what they can into the car and speeds off. As they drive, Neil explains the horror. People are infected with some kind of virus. They're changing, turning violent, mindless. He sees the town park, and it's already too late. Everyone there has turned. He turns around, heading back to the house for supplies. He tries the radio again. It's full of static, the signal broken. But he delivers his message anyway, praying someone hears. Back at the station, John catches fragments of Neil's voice. The only part he hears clearly. At the lake. John doesn't wait. He grabs his gear and heads out. Meanwhile, Neil grabs what he can and hits the road again. But the gas runs out. He pulls over, tells Abby to lock the doors, and promises he'll be back. Knife in hand, he heads to the nearest gas station. The roads are empty, abandoned. At the station, he finds two fuel containers and looks around. No movement. No people. And that's when Neil realizes the awful truth. Everyone's already gone. Meanwhile, John reaches the lake, searching for Neil. As he walks the shore, his eyes catch something chilling, the mangled body of the woman Neil encountered earlier. John doesn't know it yet, but he's now stepping into the nightmare his best friend has been trapped in. Back on the road, Neil fills two fuel containers at a nearby gas station. Just when he thinks he's safe, he's ambushed. Another infected figure. With no time to think, Neil dumps gasoline all over him and lights a match. The creature catches fire, crawling and screaming in flames as Neil grabs the containers and flees. He returns to the car, breathless and shaken. Abby, horrified, sees the burning man crawling across the ground. Neil urges her to move fast, to grab what she needs from the store so they can keep going. Elsewhere, John arrives at Neil's home. The door is unlocked. Inside, the house is dark and silent. Glass shards are scattered across the floor. He steps carefully, unaware that someone lies lifeless just beyond his vision. The radio crackles faintly. He rushes to it, trying to contact Neil, but the static still clouds everything. With the car refueled, Neil drives again. This time, he decides to head to the chief's house. Maybe he can help. The front door is already open. He steps in, calling out, but no one responds. In the kitchen, he sees the chief's wife, calmly chopping something on the counter. But when she turns around, her face is twisted. She lunges at Neil. He fights her off and dives for the drawer. Inside, a gun and bullets. He loads it quickly and fires. Moments later, the chief's daughter hears the shot and attacks. Neil is caught off guard, about to shoot again, but Abby arrives just in time, yelling for him to stop. In that moment of hesitation, the chief, now also infected, jumps Neil from behind. Abby screams as Neil hits the ground, struggling to break free. Desperate, she grabs the gun and points it at the chief, but the daughter wrestles her away. Neil fights back with everything he has and shoots the chief point blank. Then he races to find Abby, who's now fleeing through the woods. He shouts for her to run faster. But in his panic, Neil slips, tumbling off a cliff, hitting his head hard on the rocks below. Darkness. And then, a flashback. Neil is chasing someone, his son, Ben. Ben is shouting for him to leave him alone. They argue, and Ben takes off into the woods. Neil runs after him, but suddenly, Ben is gone, vanished. Neil looks everywhere, calling his name. He stands near a cliff's edge, searching, when suddenly Ben appears beside him. Then, without warning, Ben pushes him. Neil jolts awake. It's morning. He somehow survived the fall. He gets up slowly and limps back to the road. There he sees Abby going through their things. She's alive. But when she looks at him, her face tells a different story. She's infected too. He ties her hands and puts her in the back seat. He continues driving, now being followed by a police vehicle, but in Neil's mind, they are infected too. The line between reality and hallucination is fading fast. At the police headquarters, things are quiet. For John and the others, it's just a normal day. No outbreak. No zombies. He asks a colleague if they've heard anything from Neil. Nothing yet. Until the radio finally crackles with Neil's voice. John listens closely. Neil explains that Abby is infected, that something terrible is spreading. He says he's heading to the Wolf Pass Tower and needs help. John tries to stop him, but Neil can't hear. Neil continues toward the tower. There, he's attacked again, this time by a zombie in a police uniform. He shoots the man and grabs the tower's emergency radio, begging for medical help. He explains what's happening, that his wife is sick, that the town is falling apart. Eventually, he gets through to John. At last, a clear signal. John listens as Neil tells him everything, and he promises to help. "Meet me back at your house," John says calmly. "We'll figure this out." Hope looms on Neil's face. He races back home, his wife still tied in the back seat. But as he arrives, his heart sinks. Police vehicles surround the house. He steps out, cautious, hand on his gun, and then he sees them. Officers, colleagues, and John. But something's not right. To Neil, they look like zombies. He raises his gun, pointing it directly at John. From his point of view, there's no saving anyone anymore. They're all infected, even John. But then reality hits. John shouts, "Drop the weapon, Neil." Neil hesitates, and John shoots. Neil hits the ground, bleeding. As his vision fades, he catches a glimpse of himself in the side mirror of the car. He sees a monster. His own face, twisted, pale, inhuman. But that can't be right. He blinks. Flashbacks begin to flood his mind. Every infected person he thought he killed wasn't a zombie at all. They were people. Innocent people. A woman swimming. A boy at the gas station. His friends. His neighbors. Even the chief and his daughter. It was all in his mind. The final flashback shows the day Ben disappeared. Neil chased him, angry and scared. They argued. Ben tried to pull away, but in the struggle, he fell. Off the cliff. Neil screamed, running after him. He searched, but when he found Ben's bloodied clothes, his mind broke. He couldn't accept what happened. And so, he created a lie. In Neil's mind, Ben was never gone. The town was sick, infected, dangerous. But in truth, the virus never existed. The real infection was grief. And now, with his vision fading, Neil finally sees the truth. The monsters weren't real. He was. With that, the movie ends. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.